Welcome back now for the news in detail. ISIS chief Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is believed to have been targeted in Syria's northwestern Idlib province. Officials say the raid was ordered by US President Donald Trump, but the officials were unable to say whether the operation against Baghdadi was successful. White House spokesman Hogan Gidley said Trump will make a major statement today. The president gave an indication earlier on Saturday, tweeting without explanation, "Something very big has just happened." 15 people have been killed in clashes between pro-Ankara fighters and Damascus-backed Kurdish forces in northeastern Syria. Fighting is being reported in the towns of Tal Tamar and Ras al-Ain. Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 9 pro-Turkish fighters and 6 SDF fighters have also been killed. Earlier, Syrian state news agency said the government forces have entered the Ras al-Ain town near Turkey's border. It said Syrian government troops have also been deployed in a zone 30 kilometers deep along the northeastern border. This deployment of Syrian forces is the largest in years. Turkey says it will clear northern Syria of terrorists if Kurdish fighters don't withdraw by the ceasefire deadline agreed with Russia. Speaking in Istanbul, President Tayyip Erdogan threatened to let the refugees into European countries if they don't support his plans for a safe zone in Syria. Details in this report.
Turkey has once again reiterated its plan to create a safe zone in northern Syria to relocate 2 million Syrian refugees. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged the world to support Turkey's strategy.
Our expectation from the international community is to respect Turkey's sensitivities towards its border security and to provide support to our projects for the return of Syrian refugees in our country.
Russia is required to clear the safe zone's 30-kilometer area under the ceasefire agreement reached in Sochi this week. President Erdogan vowed Turkey would eliminate terrorists by itself if this doesn't happen.
If the terrorist organization continues to carry out its attacks from inside or outside the 30-kilometer-long strip, we will chase them to wherever they flee and we will do whatever is necessary.
Meanwhile, Turkey rejected Germany's proposal to create an international safe zone in northeast Syria. It also rejected allegations by rights organizations that Syrians in Turkey were forcibly repatriated and mistreated.
The Russian Defense Ministry has published satellite images claiming that the U.S. is smuggling Syrian oil to other countries. Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said Pentagon has created a false narrative for terrorists to continue stealing oil. Russia accused the U.S. of international banditry after Washington announced its intention to protect oil fields in Syria. In a statement, Russia's defense ministry said Syrian hydrocarbon deposits do not belong to ISIS but to Syrian Republic. Konashenkov said the revenues from smuggled Syrian oil arrive at the numbered bank accounts of U.S. private military companies. He said the monthly revenue gathered by smuggling Syrian oil exceeds $30 million. Pakistanis and Kashmiris around the world are observing Black Day to mark India's illegal occupation that started on this day in 1947. Indian troops have killed around 100,000 Kashmiris, denying them freedom in accordance with the UN resolutions. Protest rallies, demonstrations and conferences are being held across the world to express solidarity with the people of occupied Kashmir. The 72-year struggle of Kashmiris for their UN-recognized right of self-determination is being highlighted. Kashmiri leader Syed Ali Galani has called for a march and sit-in in occupied Valley's capital, Srinagar. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says India has turned the valley into the world's largest prison. He has asked the world to force New Delhi to end its illegal annexation of the territory. The valley is under India's curfew and a total communications blackout since August the 5th. Pakistan's military says it has killed over 60 Indian soldiers in response to skirmishes by New Delhi along the line of control since February 27. In a tweet, military spokesman Major General Asif Ghafoor said many more have been wounded. The spokesperson also said several Indian Army bunkers have been destroyed in response to unprovoked Indian aggression. He said artillery gun positions of the Indian Army have also been damaged. Ghafoor said 2 Indian Air Force jets were downed by Pakistan while India destroyed 2 of its helicopters in fear of Pakistan's army. In Iraq, 15 more protesters have been killed in clashes with security forces as thousands took part in nationwide anti-government protests. Police say the death toll from violent protests over the last 3 days has risen to 67. Thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets in nationwide anti-government protests to contain escalating violence. Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi ordered members of the country's elite counter-terrorism service to quell protests. The troops fired tear gas and arrested dozens of protesters in neighborhoods surrounding Baghdad's central Tahrir Square. The overall death toll from violent protests has reached 224 over the past month. Meanwhile, the largest parliamentary bloc has left the government and joined the opposition in support of the protesters. Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has met Yemeni rebel group Houthi spokesman Mohammad Abdul Salam in Tehran. Zarif said a range of issues, including efforts to end the conflict, was discussed during this meeting. The foreign minister said Yemen conflict can all be resolved through an all-inclusive political process. Zarif expressed grief over civilian deaths in the conflict and offered humanitarian aid. Abdul Salam praised Iran's support for the Yemeni people and briefed Zarif on the latest developments in the war-torn country. A German NGO, CI, says one of its vessels rescuing 90 migrants from the Mediterranean have been threatened. CI spokesman Gordon Eiler said militants fired warning shots at the ship during the rescue operation. Eiler said their ship was surrounded by 3 speedboats with masked and heavily armed gunmen on board. He said several migrants fell into the water in fear and panic. Eiler blamed EU countries for allowing such brutal behavior to discourage rescue operations. Portugal's new government has been sworn in by President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa in the Ajuda National Palace. The ceremony was attended by Prime Minister Antonio Costa. Costa has formed a minority government after leading his party to victory in the national elections earlier this month. He said his government will prioritize climate change, demographic sustainability, digital transition, and fighting inequalities in the next 4 years. Costa pledged to increase the minimum monthly wage to €750 by 2023. During the inauguration ceremony, Rebelo de Sousa warned that the new Costa government will face more challenges than the previous. In the UK, police have charged a driver with manslaughter in relation to the discovery of 39 corpses in a lorry in Essex. Maurice Robinson was arrested after the bodies of 31 men and 8 women were found in the trailer on Wednesday. He also has been charged with human trafficking and money laundering. Robinson will appear before a magistrate's court on Monday. 3 other people, including a woman, are also in detention on suspicion of murder. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has warned of further instability and ethnic violence in the country. In a statement, Ahmed called for an end to clashes between rival groups, asking them to observe tolerance and unity. The Prime Minister pledged to punish those responsible for the killing of 67 people during recent clashes. Tensions rose in the country after opposition activist Mohammed Jawar accused security forces of an assassination attempt. Voters in Argentina will head to the ballot box tomorrow in the presidential election. Opinion polls show center-left candidate Alberto Fernandez holding a 20-point lead. Fernandez defeated President Mauricio Macri in an August primary, sparking a market crash. Former President Cristina Kirchner is running mate for Fernandez, who is convincing voters that he has a plan to reboot the economy. To avoid a runoff, the leading candidate needs to secure 45% of the votes. Voters will be choosing between 6 candidates. In Spain, thousands of people have rallied in Barcelona for Catalonia's independence and release of jailed leaders. The majority of Catalonia's almost 1,000 mayors urged authorities in Madrid to grant the region right to self-determination. Protests have rocked the region since a court sentenced 9 separatist leaders on October 14th. They were prosecuted for their role in the 2017 independence referendum. Over 200 people were injured in violent protests then. Spain's main parties have rejected any moves towards the succession of Catalonia. Spain will hold a national election on the 10th of November. In California, a new round of power shutdowns to prevent further wildfires has left over 2 million people in a complete blackout. Californian power supplier Pacific Gas and Electric Company said it took the measure for public safety. The state's largest outage will disrupt around 1 million homes and businesses in 36 countries. California Governor Gavin Newsom has blamed the service provider for the wildfires and subsequent power cuts. 6 of the most devastating blazes in California's history were triggered by equipment malfunction. Last year, wildfire that started in Paradise Town killed 86 people. National Weather Service has issued red flag warnings in Northern California to warn about an increased risk of fire danger. We'll take a quick short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Video games are generally thought of as entertainment for boys and young men, but one group of women coders wants to use the medium to teach girls to smash obstacles. What makes this story truly special is where these women are from, patriarchal Afghanistan. Details in this report.
These young women are part of an after-school training program called Code to Inspire in Herat. Here, they learn tech skills and create educational games and apps for Afghan girls.
My main goal as a game and app developer is to make as many educational games for the children of my country as possible, so that they learn and become educated faster through games.
The game Afghan Hero Girl has been their most successful venture yet. Its protagonist is a princess in a green hijab who leaps around a crumbling castle in a quest to defeat an evil wizard.
One of our most successful games is the Afghan Hero Girl game. We made this game in 6 months with 12 girls working on it. Through this game, we want to show that girls may have problems, but like the character in the game, they can jump or destroy the obstacles in their lives and eventually reach their goal.
Women's rights and girls' education have made significant gains in Afghanistan over the past 2 decades, but the country still has a long way to go. 1,000 schools were shut at the end of 2018 due to fighting between the Taliban and the government in Kabul. This deprived 500,000 children of their right to education, mostly girls.
In New York City, a pop-up art show blending flowers and fashion has blossomed at the Hudson Yards. Organizing team Flo DeVilles has cultivated flower events all over the world, but this is the first in New York. More in this report.
It's not every day you visit a city and wind up in a tropical garden, wearing vibrant and fragrant flowers including roses, carnations, hydrangeas and tulips. The many of the life-size mannequins were designed around in Hudson complex of New York City.
We've got 14 beautiful mannequins here, all dressed in nothing but fresh flowers to stop people in their tracks, to engage, make people happy. Flowers make everybody happy.
Flo DeVille's co-founder Tina Barclay says it is a luxury brand, but it always works with local florists in each city to celebrate local floral talent.
The florists make their decisions around the flowers themselves, so they plan it, create it, design it, and then they procure the flowers to use in each of the exhibits.
The 10-day exhibition will run until November 3rd.
And now bringing you the latest from the world of business. The U.S. Treasury says the government's budget deficit has climbed to nearly $1 trillion in the 2019 fiscal year. The fiscal deficit jumped by 26% to over $900 billion, which is the highest since 2012. The U.S. Treasury says in the wake of Republican-led tax cut, spending has outspread tax receipts. Earlier this year, Congress passed a 2-year budget deal backed by President Donald Trump. That's all for now, but you can always follow us for the latest updates on our social media pages at Indus.News.